Hey everybody, and welcome to Side Quest, the podcast we do when we're not playing the game for which this podcast is named. I am Drew Hayes, and joining me today are Steve Wetherill, Robert Bevan, Rick Gualtieri, and John Hartness.
Hello.
Hey.
What's up?
Gotcha.
Hi, I'm Evil Drew Hayes, coming to you from an alternate dimension. Why? Because today, the topic is especially crossovers. Dun dun dun.
Does Evil Drew Hayes have, a beard and a goatee?
I was just thinking, I'm wondering if Evil John Hartness is clean shaven. Because that dude is funny looking.
Because Evil Rick Gualtieri and Evil Robert Bevan both have long flowing manes of hair.
All right, throwing back to regular Drew Hayes, you can clearly tell the difference. I have not wearing glasses, and that's pretty much the only difference. The flip side of neutral is still neutral.
So you're saying that Evil Drew Hayes didn't want to put his contact lenses in or something?
Yeah, he's slightly lazier. That's it.
All right.
Looks better in glasses, though, so I
You
don't
claim
know.
neutrality, yet you've been on a whole lot of these side quests and mimics, motherfucker.
Neutrality does not mean not amoral.
Yeah, there are stains on your soul. Do not deny it.
I like to think of myself as, like, the Watcher, like, in the...
Yeah, but that guy's a douche.
Tough job. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, it's a hard difference.
It's like it reminds me of the Ren and Stimpy cartoon where Ren gets split into his evil side and his indifferent side.
Well, on the subject of the Watcher and superheroes, albeit not Marvel, we are opening this up with motherfucking Crisis on Infinite Earths, and not a spoiler-free version this time. So,
Holy
warning,
shit, that was good.
Deal it. It's been weeks now. You had time.
That shit was amazing.
Yeah.
I was just fucking so many cuts on so many levels. Fucking thing. So, did any of you guys besides me and John actually watch the Crisis on Infinite Earth or read up on it before this?
Oh, fuck yeah. I was...
Excellent.
I feel like I really should have watched the trailer or something.
I've not really been a fan of the DC TV stuff, to be honest. I'm aware of the comic
goes-
book, but
It's insane how much shit they connected. Like, they basically made a crossover event that was not only connecting the Arrowverse, it was connecting almost every single DC superhero television property
And
stretching back through known television history.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think they
the
got
Adam
Chris Reeves
West one.
Superman, but they did get Adam West. Adam West Batman.
yeah, they got the Adam West Batman world with the cameo. They got the Michael Keaton Batman world.
They
with
got Batman the
fucking-
animated series.
And they got the Brandon Roth Superman, which essentially is the same world as Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did the best fucking scene in the Justice League movie, which proves that the fuckers who made the Justice League movie should all be fired and just let Greg Berlanti do every DC media thing ever.
Oh, yeah, they connected the fucking Justice League in an absolute, like, that was a, hey, it would be really cool if from, like, a few years ago, but nobody expected to see fucking Ezra Miller as the Flash appear on a goddamn episode.
You know what
Yeah.
I think somebody somewhere, when they started Arrow 7 years ago, somebody put a swear jar out there and said, guys, when we fill this up, we're going to have enough budget to do Crisis.
And, similarly to how the comic books happened, which is they fucked up continuity so many times that they had to blow shit up and start over. That's what happened with the TV shows, too. Because Supergirl had to be in a different universe because it started on a different network. And then Black Lightning was never in the same universe as the Arrow stuff. And Batwoman, for whatever reason, was not in the same universe. Well, probably because it came in too late. So to get them all in the same universe, they had to blow shit up and mash it all together like they ended up doing.
Yeah, because
But it didn't feel it didn't feel as much like housekeeping, even though so much of it was, because they went really slow. Like, they built this thing over 3 seasons of crossovers and shit. So
Yeah.
it was satisfying. Like, as you were like ready for them to collapse some of this in, you're like, fuck yeah, more Barry and Kara team ups. Like, yes.
Right.
I think they went further than that. I mean, because we first saw like mention of Crisis on the very first episode of Flash.
Yeah. We did.
And,
you're
and
right.
I think most of us like looked at it and said, "Oh, that's a cool Easter egg. They're never going to do that." And DC was like,
exactly.
"Fuck you."
That's a great call ahead to something they'll never fucking get to.
Right. Well, especially since the first episode of Flash was real mediocre, and I didn't think they'd get to season 2. So, for me, that's a show that really didn't find its feet until halfway through the season.
Yeah.
But bump.
Although, I mean, it did have that great "lightning gave me abs" line in episode 1, which was fantastic.
I like the depth of some of the cuts, like the man who plays Batman, Kevin
Conroy.
Conroy, there it is. Thank you. Who has voiced animated Batman in
Forever.
Yeah, so many incarnations. The fact that they took this beloved part of the franchise and gave him some spotlight and screen time. It's just
Yeah.
it felt really fucking genuinely satisfying in a way that fan service rarely does.
Well, I mean, there was the like the I guess the Smallville crossover too, which like which,
Oh my god, yes.
Which that I mean, here's the thing. Like it kind of played upon both things. Like one, here's a conclusion to this, just to show you how things went. But it also kind of played into the whole fact that Tom Welling never actually really wanted to like put on the Superman tights. So it kind of played to both of those and said, okay, well, here's a world where like Superman just retired.
Yeah, he did it all. Like, it's funny because now bookends Smallville in a way. It's like, yes, you see everything up to Superman and post Superman. You just never see Tom Welling as Superman.
I think that one of the things that really helped is that it was fan service. They knew it was fan service going in, but they're fans. I don't know if any of you guys have watched any of the YouTube fan shows. Like, there's a Nightwing fan series on YouTube that's really good, and there's a Red Hood YouTube fan series. Some of this shit is amazing. They absolutely should have cast the Nightwing fan series guy as Dick Grayson in Titans, because he's better than the guy they got. So, starting as fans, I believe, really helped them do it right.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. When you can typically tell when when somebody who makes a movie is a fan versus somebody who makes a movie is just doing it like
As
for a
J.J.
paycheck.
Abrams.
Yeah, or I mean, look at Michael Bay's Transformer movies. There's like
Fuck
there's a level of contempt there. That is impossible to see or not see.
But like the love has like gone back all the way to the beginning. I mean, like the Barry Allen casting the Barry Allen's father as the actor who played Barry Allen in the old original. Like, from the minute I saw that, I was like, I'm fucking in, man. You bought so much leash with that one choice.
Yeah, you really did. And then to bring back Jay Garrick, and then
they actually brought him back again as the Flash from that old CBS show from like 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And then to bring in Marv Wolfman. Sorry. Then to bring Marv Wolfman in and give him a cameo, that's fucking great. And that was deep. To put the guy that wrote Crisis into Crisis, that was a deep cut.
Who was his cameo?
When Barry and Kara show up on the pier and the old man asks them for an autograph of their picture.
Uh-huh.
That's Marv Wolfman.
Holy shit. I did not catch that.
That's the motherfucker who wrote this the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be surreal as shit, like, as a writer.
Yeah. So, I mean, getting Burt Ward in the first episode gave us all this great, like, holy shit, But
They came out swinging. Like
Yeah.
Burt Ward, the guy who played Arliss and was Knox in Keaton, like some shit that you're like, oh, I didn't expect them to get these people.
yeah. But then
Birds
to
of Prey.
close with Wolfman, that was classy. So, no, I thought everything about it was great. And you're right that they did lead up to it in multiple years of crossovers because we had the Earth X thing. No, it was just great.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that we got a nice smooth kickoff for Legends, which is still my absolute fucking favorite. God, if not,
Oh,
now
and they
that
had
Good Place has
fucking
gone
Lucifer.
live action show.
Oh yeah, Lucifer.
Yes, they brought in Lucifer.
Oh fuck yeah, I forgot about the Lucifer cameo. That was another what the shittery.
Yeah, because I mean, that's not even the same company.
But I mean, I getting back to like the Legends thing. I love the fact that like they acknowledge the fact that like that Sarah Lance and like Oliver Queen went back so far and stuff. So that's like dredging up from like the very beginning of that, and they made it like a major plot point. It was like this.
Yeah,
There was a lot of love and care that went into this.
Absolutely. I also love that they sort of explained why the rest of the Legends aren't around on the crossover. It's just they hate them.
yeah. Oh, and fucking Mick Rory doing the romance book signing. That was spectacular.
Oh man, yeah. If there's one absolute lesson takeaway to this, it's that if you're going to do a crossover of multiple properties, you better damn sure love them, because the people who are going to be watching do, and the little nods and the small gestures, the things that a fan does because they're like, oh my god, wouldn't it be cool if we got this little thing in, like, it matters. It stacks up. It makes the difference of this versus without all the sweet touches. Like, if this thing was riding purely on its plot, we would not be singing such praises.
But I remember like Ezra Miller showing up and like the Lucifer came in. Those things blew up on social media. People just went nuts with that shit.
Yeah.
Which also goes to the fact that it was really smart from a network and producer standpoint, because that's the shit you can't get that with an ad buy.
No,
Lucifer is
that kind of love.
Yeah, Lucifer's a show that was so fucking popular that when it got canceled by Fox, the fan protest got it picked up by Netflix. So to throw those guys a bone, you're going to bring in a lot of those same rabid fans who may or may not already be watching this shit. So, because they'll just go see anything that dude's on.
Well, you sort of got to the brilliance of what makes this work and what makes a crossover like this doable and appealing when it's done properly. The old idea of media focus was one of generality, one where you cast the widest net possible to pick up this large audience, because there were so few options. You just had to spread that way. But now with fragmentation of the market, the idea has become that a niche direction is more powerful because it'll be more focused. You'll have more passionate fans. And so what this special did in an amazing way was take several different, very passionate fan bases and engage them one after the other with these specific call outs and references and things that, it wasn't just that. Like, almost every episode had something that made social media blow up in a way that John's right. Like, you could not buy that. You had to create it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it played on nostalgia, and it played on anger, because everybody who loves comic books hates the fucking DC movies so much that just hearing that somebody got it right.
Unless you go to Twitter, in which case they consider Batman versus Superman somehow the second coming or something.
Well, I mean, my second coming was a wet dream when I was in fucking junior high, and I've gotten a lot better since that. So, for fuck's sake, I hope they get a lot better since that piece of shit.
I mean, it looks like they are. The course correction of some of the DC stuff looks pretty damn good. Like, I liked Shazam, and I am excited for the new Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I like all of those. It's just when they get...
You know, something. Once they got over themselves as and the whole concept of, oh, we have to be dark and brooding, and actually remember that, you know, comic books are supposed to have fun, and yes, you're making like, you know, a story about a guy who wears, like, you know, gold and green tights and talks to fish, you know.
Yeah, they took all the wrong lessons from the Nolan movies.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, yeah, Batman's a dark motherfucker.
Yeah.
So give me Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
Oh my god, I would fucking love a Booster Gold. Not even a movie. Do a series with Booster Gold, because that's what he's built for. Is like, you need a DC TV property series. Booster Gold, man. It's a sitcom about like him busting his ass and being a shitty superhero.
But you know something? I think that would work best on like the DC Universe like channel, because I think they have a little more play there with, like, because
that would sell a lot more DC Universe memberships than fucking Swamp Thing. Yeah,
because I'm like I've been checking out, like, you know, the Harley Quinn cartoon, and the fact that they did just litter it with F-bombs and all sorts of adult shit. It is the most hilarious fucking thing, and I'm like, this would not work as like on like as part of like the Fox block or whatever the frig that, like, you know, used to play the Batman stuff.
Yeah, the freedom to move to streaming is wild. We brought up Lucifer and the shift it made. An aspect of that is season 5 was actually good for the first time in a long time. Like, Lucifer wasn't doing amazing plot-wise when it got canceled. Let's own the truth here. But, you know, being outside of the network broadcast limitations, I don't know, maybe they just got revitalized or whatever, but it got a lot better when they were on Netflix.
Maybe it's the same thing that happened with Legends. They're like, fuck it, we've already been canceled once.
Yeah, balls to the wall.
For it.
I also love that we have barely started Legends, but they already have another season renewed.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't have live TV anymore, so I have to watch Legends on the app on my computer the day after, which is how I watched the first 3 episodes of Crisis. I would watch them the day after. But for the 2-part finale, I went over to my friend Darren's house, and a bunch of us got together and got pizza and watched them. And that was a really great way to do it, because it was kind of like a nerd Super Bowl party.
Oh, speaking of nerds, let's take a little break to ask Steve and Bob, are you still with us?
I am here.
We've put them to sleep.
Steve's like, fuck it, I'm going to go make some popcorn or something.
Steve's now installing the CW app on his computer, and he's like, all right, fine, I'll fucking watch it.
Steve played a drinking game. Every time we named a superhero he didn't recognize, he just pounded one, and he's dead now.
I've been listening to you guys talk, and I feel like more strongly than ever that I can't watch this, because just without a whole lifetime of seeing these other shows and reading these comic books, then it'd just be wasted on me, I feel.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Honestly, I agree with you. Not so much about the whole lifetime. You won't get the Easter eggs. I mean, shit, we all got
from
Easter
what I
eggs.
hear, I mean, it sounds like it's like
you
90% Easter eggs.
You can be honest, because I think I know what Bob is sitting there thinking. You all make me feel cool.
No.
I haven't been honest.
Well, I was thinking is that we've been talking about this for like 20 minutes now, and nobody's brought up Teen Titans Go. So
I've seen
probably
that.
All, yeah.
Well,
if Teen Titans Go is not at the table of any of this so-called inclusive DC reimagining,
you know, if they had one extra episode of Crisis where they did the animated, I'm sure that they would have brought it.
I would have. Imagine if they'd done one episode where it's all animated and they're tying together all the animated.
Oh
shit.
my god!
They're advertising it right now. They're gonna have like Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, like. Several incarnations of Teen Titans are going to be coming together in one like animated movie.
Oh, that's already happened. Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go. We were talking about the Infinite Crisis.
Wait, no,
I'm
that
sure I'm talking about something that's being advertised that hasn't come out yet, but I don't
Oh,
know.
wait. Are they doing it again?
I think so, because I see this advertised like every day, because my kids are always watching Teen Titans Go.
This is why I fucking didn't like Crisis on Infinite Earths the first time around. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Just all they had to do to do a cameo from the Teen Titans Go, in the spirit of Teen Titans Go, was just to be randomly cut to them doing a ridiculous dance for 3 seconds and then just cut back
The
like
booty
nothing ever
scooty.
happened. Yeah, just cut to the booty scooty in the middle of a really dramatic scene for like 3 seconds and then just don't mention it again. Then you've got the Teen Titans Go inclusivity in the spirit of the Teen Titans Go cartoon. And it would have been worth watching for me then. But somebody made that artistic choice. I'm not saying they should be fired. I'm just heavily implying that they should be fired.
Yeah, Bevan, I'm pretty sure the movie you're referencing is Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go, and it's been out for a while now.
Oh, well, I didn't really care that much anyway. Just
I watched it. It was a good one.
contributing.
You should check it out.
Okay.
That's a firm no, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've tried to watch the Teen Titans before. It's, oh man, I don't care.
It's a lot more Go focused than the old show focused.
I guess it would have to be.
I mean,
We'll go watch the cartoon and then we'll do our own podcast.
I probably am like the only person who liked the original one better, only because I just liked the fact that it was kind of like almost like a spin-off of the old Batman animated series.
Rick, are you kidding? The internet hated Teen Titans Go for years because of how
they
much
still
it
do.
loved the old one.
Okay, then
Yes.
I feel justified
Still a
now.
strong hatred out there.
Way to go, internet.
But that was probably my favorite Teen Titans Go episode where they addressed that, where they had the what was his name? It was a TV nerd type guy who controlled them, and he showed them their better selves. And they're like, "Yeah, you're right, that was cooler," and then just carried on doing their ridiculous dance for the rest of the year. That's what I appreciate about the Teen Titans Go. They give zero fucks.
Well, it's the same voice cast. Like
Yeah.
they get paid no matter what the incarnation is.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something cool about that. It's like, okay, guys, we've done this for 4 seasons. Now we're going to do it. Now we're changing it up, but we want you guys to do it. And now we're going to make fun of everything you just did for those last 4 seasons. And it'd be like, okay.
Check cleared? Check cleared. Okay. Stable job for 10 seasons? Fuck yeah.
I want you to be really believable of this, cyborg character, even though it's going to be quite challenging because it's quite a silly concept. But I want you to be as believable as possible. All right, now script it out. I want you to make fun of everything you did for the last 4 years. Okay, boss.
You know something? I would take that job.
yes, I mean,
Even ignoring the paycheck, which don't get me wrong, does not hurt. But
well, before we go into Teen Titans too much, we are still on the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh my God, is there more?
I guess I just had one sort of a few things to talk on. The unexpected, or I guess, did anybody see the Spectre turn coming?
yeah, I think I had heard that spoiled. So I probably wouldn't have seen it coming, but it made sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a good. I liked it. It was a nice deep dive. I think it was in the original Spectre was a big force, right?
Yeah.
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 and Spectre does leave open the possibility for Stephen Amell to do cameos in the future.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Well, I'm glad you used that word, Rick, because that was sort of where I wanted to close us out on the Crisis segment. The future, it reshaped the DC or the Arrowverse landscape in a radical way, in that all of the shows are now in the same universe, which is really cool from a storytelling perspective. It adds a lot of new potential, but also, they've spent all of these seasons kind of building to this. So where do they go from here?
Well, I mean, how spoilery do we want to get? Because they go to fucking Green Lantern.
Oh, you think they're going to go?
Everything I'm hearing and seeing from the last episode of Arrow is Diggle's going to be Jon Stewart Green Lantern.
Oh shit! I have not kept up on Arrow post Crisis.
Yeah, suppose
because Arrow's over now.
Yes.
Arrow's done.
How did they have episodes after Crisis? I was going to ask that.
I don't really know. They had like 2. One was a funeral.
Yeah, one episode was essentially kind of like a soft pilot for a spin-off, and then the finale, which is essentially like, an hour-long funeral.
Yeah.
Was the soft pilot the Green Arrow stuff?
No,
the soft pilot is the Canaries. It's like the Green Arrow daughter, and it was all the female, the two black canaries, and the blonde chick that was Green Arrow's daughter.
Yeah.
Wait, is Laurel the Lance back to being a good character?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kinda.
Yeah, she is.
Like, because she was Evil Universe doppelganger for a while, and I'm assuming she's still that, but good.
Yeah. I think that's what I get. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're supposed to be having a Superman show showing up, which is I think we're probably going to see Green Lantern appear. And oddly enough, though, another series that's coming is Stargirl, but they implied that Stargirl, they're just going to throw it in its own universe anyway, and it's like, you just did all this thing, and now you're like, oh, but yeah, this is going to be a different universe again.
Which, I mean,
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, Rick. And while, yes, that completely shits the bed on everything they just did, I'm so excited about a JSA series because I really loved the fucking JSA. So
what's interesting is that they've been going on this universe for so long that the original series that started it has now died after 6 seasons. 7 seasons. A very long run for any show. And at the 7-year mark of this Arrowverse running, they are shifting gears into what could arguably be described as their version of Phase 2.
Yeah.
Which is fucking insane on the TV landscape. Like, they must have a lot of faith that this is going to keep trucking.
The word I hear on ratings is that Flash has had some of its best ratings ever.
Which is weird because this season of Flash, I got to be honest, has not been all that good.
I bailed out last season. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, same here. I made it two episodes into last season.
I got past the crossover and I was like, I think I'm done.
Oh, I didn't even get back. I watched the crossover just separately. The only thing I stay current on is Legends, and now I'm interested to watch Batwoman. I'm sorry, because the beginning episodes of Batwoman were too much the same fucking villain. It was all Batwoman versus Alice, and it was all one thing. It was very one note. But now that she's had to interact with these other people, and now she shares a universe with other heroes. It gives her more. It gives more places to go with that character.
I will say, Black Lightning has been a really good show. Of all the Arrowverse shows, they easily have the best recurring bad guy. The guy who plays Tobias Whale. There's just a ton of charisma in a character who's just horribly sleazy and murderous, and it really works really well.
I love that guy. He's like scarier Black Steve Buscemi. He creeps me the fuck out.
Yeah, but he eats the scenery in every freaking scene he's in. It is. Yeah. And my thing when at the first season, I was thinking, okay, they're gonna kill him off, and that's gonna suck. But I think they made the wise decision of saying, we're just gonna keep this guy around because he's pretty awesome.
Which is smarter than what they did with Luke Cage, which was kill the best villain halfway through season 1.
Yeah,
let's take a look here. So we've got 7 years worth of Arrowverse culminating in Crisis. And then there's Defenders.
I mean, let's be fair here. In the existing media landscape as it was even 5 years ago, spending 4 individual seasons to build to one crossover season was still a pretty big fucking commitment.
Yeah, it was.
Like they didn't phone that in. That was an appropriate, like we couldn't have reasonably asked for more build than that.
No.
And truth of the matter is, I mean, if you ignore maybe I think the last 2 episodes, Defender was pretty damn good. It just kind of fizzled at the end.
Yeah, it fizzled on plot. It didn't balance itself very well. Like it was so clear that story was crafted for Daredevil and Iron Fist, but like because all of the threats, all of the challenges were entirely appropriate to them.
Yeah.
The fact that Luke wasn't just absolutely wrecking through the stock ninjas was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, he should just be catching a fist and throwing that guy into a ton of other guys and they pulp.
Kill a motherfucker with another motherfucker. He should definitely have Samuel L. Jackson the shit out of that.
Yeah. They didn't plot much in to balance it. I liked the speed that they did, like keeping it to like 3 days, like made it feel believable that these strangers would have to work together for that fast.
And the fact that Jessica Jones was an utter bitch to Iron Douche made it worth watching the whole thing. Because I just wanted to see her say all the things we all wanted to say to Danny Rand.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I don't know, there were good decisions made, but yeah, it just... It felt like they built the story for one character and tacked everybody else in, which was insane given that the season was supposed to be about those 4 meeting.
Yeah, it was one of those things like they had like 6 episodes worth of plot, but like 10 episodes to spread it across.
Oh shit, yeah.
I didn't mind how Defenders was handled, but it was a waste of time. They should have just kept Jessica Jones to herself with maybe a cameo, scratched the entire Defenders thing and just went with Heroes for Hire. Because Danny Rand only ever made sense when he was bouncing off Luke Cage.
Well, I would have loved to see like Jessica and Luke doing something separate from Daredevil and Iron Fist. Like for most of it, like have them dealing with the threat on different levels, so you can have their challenges more appropriately tailored, and then slam them together like at the end for a big finish or something.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like you don't call in the Fantastic Four if your bad guy is Bullseye.
Yeah, and I don't think you get Jessica Jones from kind of heavy, emotionally relevant drama based around superpowers into, Iron Fist and Luke Cage having a good time beating shit up. It's not very easily transplanted. She just becomes kind of a comedy bitch character, which is not really what was interesting about Jessica Jones at all.
They did underuse the shit out of her in Defenders. Like, she was the comic relief most of the time. And she did a great job because Kristen Ritter is a fucking phenomenal actress. But, like, is like, boy, you guys did not think about Jessica Jones in this thing, did you?
Defender. That's why I think Defenders was just kind of the wrong move. They should have kind of, by all means, integrate them, but maybe not hang an entire series that relies on their integration.
Yeah, because the episode of Iron Fist that was Luke Cage and Danny Rand together was the episode I liked.
Yeah, that was amazing. Like that showcased the potential of what those two could be, and it felt like a tease for where we were going to end the season, and then what we got was like a double punch.
And the only thing that makes me sad that those got canceled is that now we don't get Daughters of the Dragon.
No, we don't get Daughters of the Dragon. We don't get whatchamacallit, Heroes for Hire. And honestly, I was enjoying John Bernthal as Punisher. So.
Yeah, I mean he was really good. He was very Punisher.
So real quick, point that is worth bringing up: those characters by those actors, etc. They're not untouchable forever. In fact, as I have heard it reported, I could be slightly wrong, this year, 2020, at some point during it, the limit on that will run out. and those characters will be more usable by Disney again. And so there's some speculation that they might keep the ones who did really well, like the Punisher and the Jessica Jones, like the ones who people kind of kept liking and were critically received. Obviously, Daredevil.
And I mean, I think they were all the individual shows except Iron Fist were good.
Yeah.
Luke Cage was actually my favorite.
The first half of Luke Cage was my favorite. That Cottonmouth swerve. Oh, that derailed everything.
That said, of everybody that they could bring back, I mean, you're right. A lot of people did awesome, but if I had to choose, bringing back Charlie Cox's Daredevil, because holy shit, he owned the fuck out of Daredevil.
Yeah. I don't think you're gonna get the Luke Cage actor back because he has his own show.
What's he doing?
A different network. Mike Coulter, is that what his name was?
What's he on now?
I can't remember. It's the one where they're solving crimes, but maybe the devil is involved, possessions and whatnot. I didn't say it was a good show. I just said it was
I saw the first episode of that. That sucked.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I've just seen previews for like, I'm a detective. Maybe it's the devil. I'm not gonna watch that.
Evil,
yeah. My wife's friend recommended it, and oh my god, this is so shitty.
Your wife's friend doesn't like you.
Yeah,
well,
my
that's a shame
friend is like,
because
fuck
he's
you,
really
Bob.
nice.
Hey, it's a formula hour-long solving mystery drama. Like, he might run on 10 seasons and make $1 billion fucking off that thing.
I mean, I hope he does because he's a good dude. But
the landscape of modern television dictates that there's money to be made in that formula.
Oh yeah.
I think it's been renewed for a second season.
what fucking channel is that on?
It's got to be one of the basic four.
How have I not? Because this is right in my fucking wheelhouse.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would probably check out.
That's why. CBS. So it's not available on any of the real streaming platforms.
Yeah, okay.
CBS, your own bullshit doesn't count. Fight me.
Oh, their all access thing?
Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't care how many Picard-like shows they put on there. I refuse to pay for that.
Yeah, CBS. Oh, we've got enough content to justify an entire stream platform. Oh, no, you don't, little buddy. No, you don't.
I'll get it for a month next year when the second season of Picard is all on there. And then I'll drop it again. Because I want to see Whoopi go back on season 2 of Picard. But other than that, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck you, CBS.
Yeah.
By the time season 2 of Picard will come round, it'll just be Patrick Stewart sitting in a chair, drinking an Earl Grey while acrobats just have kung fu fights around for 30 minutes.
I'd watch
So we
that.
definitely want to watch it.
Yeah, I would watch that.
I'm down. They could just shoot that on the fucking stage at the RSC, man.
So we sort of meandered from Crisis into our true topic, which is crossovers.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Interconnected universes, multiverses, crossing properties. How do we feel about them? How do our evil counterparts feel about them? How do the mirror versions of us feel about them? Those are different things, sci-fi people. You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, all of my people are down with them because I do crossovers in my writing, so... And I totally lifted all the ideas of the expanded Bubba and Harker universes from comic books. And I make no bones about that fact. I read a fuck ton of X-Men comics in the 80s and 90s, so shit's supposed to cross over in my head.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
It's fucking Chris Claremont's fault. Blame him.
It's one of those things, like, crossovers are both the absolute, when they work, they're the absolute best fan service you can get. And when they don't work, it is just the most heartbreaking thing to watch.
I think anyone who's read Marvel Comics is an instant crossover fan because they kind of, I don't know if they birthed it, but they certainly popularized the idea of a shared universe because all their major heroes were independent until readers started, writing in going, if this was happening in New York, and the Hulk was stealing it, then where was Thor? So they started really kind of converging their stories around the idea that these very separate heroes with very separate stories were all sharing the same time and space.
I actually think a lot of that was planned that way because, I mean, if you look at it, like some of the very early issues of their comics, it's like they followed that formula of like, okay, first couple issues, all right, Hulk's doing his thing, Thor's doing his thing, Fantastic Four is doing their thing, then like then maybe like 5 issues in, you'd have like the first thing of like of like, oh hey, and now Spider-Man's gonna pop in for like for a thing. So Marvel has always kind of embraced that, I think.
Yeah, but they would kind of doing it around fan expectations and building it as they went, like the concept of the no prize when the fans were going, but if Thor was here, then how could he also be there? And they were like, yeah, you win a no prize. Shit. Let's try and do something ridiculous to explain the continuity error. And I always liked that about it. The fact that, you could be reading the Spider-Man comic and somebody would just kind of wander in for a couple of panels from a different comic. It's very I think it's very normal expectations if you grew up reading Marvel. Well, and I mean, any comics.
Yeah, and Marvel. I mean, they even had like a whole series called Marvel 2-in-1.
Marvel Team Up.
Yeah,
the Marvel team ups. Yeah, I've always slightly disappointed if I read a comic where another hero didn't just like kind of pop in for a little while. I guess anyone who's a comic book fan is kind of always ready for a bit of universe crossing going on.
And from my experience, readers love Easter eggs. So, like, I got a comment on Facebook last week because I mentioned one of my characters in an early Harker book reading one of Rick's books. So somebody mentioned that to me. Hey, I love that shout out to Rick. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. But those little Easter eggs it's the kind of inside baseball behind the curtain shit that readers dig. Mm-hmm. I know I do.
Yeah. It wound up not happening because, my artist just didn't follow my instructions. But when I came out with the Bill the Vampire comic book, I reached out to Bob and I was like, as an Easter egg, would it be cool? Wouldn't it be awesome if if the first one of the early scenes of the book which has Bill going and buying like a couple D&D books. The whole joke there was supposed to be as Sally meets up with him and just pull him out of the bag and like, what is this shit? You were gonna have like one frame where it was like caverns and creatures.
Yeah. And I mean, we've done it with Shingles because what were we asking earlier? How many Shingles books has had a Hello Kitty store in it? Because
that's right.
It's a big number. By the way, the most recent Shingles book, Jizz World, is available now.
There's also Hustle Whore and Boner Bob's All-Purpose Lube.
Oh, don't forget Judd's Tits and Wings, which has actually a fairly significant portion in Jizz World.
Oh, good.
Also, here's a tie-in. I believe that in Space Werewolf from Planet Sex, one of the porn magazines he references is Tits Monthly, which was also a fairly instrumental porn magazine in the not quite a Shingles tale, Hell's Titties, which also mentioned caverns and creatures. So there you go. There's a fucking chain for you.
And I'll admit, I hoard myself. In Sober Slayers, the game they're playing is Heroes and Harpies, which is from one of my Caravance books, Master of the Dungeon.
It's all connected.
Yeah, and Stranger's Thing, they're playing Caverns and Creatures very badly. And I've done a couple of Authors and Dragons Easter eggs in some of my Caverns and Creatures shorts.
That's right. Yeah,
a fan or two has picked up on that.
Yeah, actually, I did a recent Easter egg in one of my Bent books where somebody is kind of referencing the multiverse and they're like, I see it all, and they mentioned it's like I see this happening, oh, and I see a guy picking up a cursed sex toy.
But that could be any cursed sex
Yeah,
toy,
that could-
really.
Stop being
So
paranoid.
many cursed sex toys.
And a lot of it is Easter eggs are kind of throw-ins. We can do that as we're going, hey, that would be fun, plink. But when it gets to a bigger crossover, that shit takes more planning.
Yes.
Because I've made it clear from the jump that the Bubba and Harker books take place in the same universe, and they've referenced each other, and some of the expanded universe books reference each other's stuff. But so that led to people asking, hey, when are you going to do a crossover? And I thought, well, Harker would probably hate Bubba and would quite possibly murder him. But now that's what this year is. It's 2 novels and 3 novellas that are a crossover. That's a lot more fucking planning than I thought it was when I started this process.
That's not even talking about. It's like, like at any time, even like with different universes, like we have the capability of crossing over with our own stuff. But I mean, how many requests do we get where it's like, hey John or hey Drew, wouldn't it be awesome if your characters could cross over with other authors like characters? And that right there, that's a fuckload of work and like legalese.
Oh my god, yeah, that's...
I mean, I can't even cross over the Black Knight Chronicles with any of my other stuff because the Black Knight Chronicles are published by a different publisher. It's my IP, but the license to distribute that stuff, it's in my contract that publisher has right of first refusal for anything written in the same universe as the Black Knight Chronicles. Which is why, when I started writing Bubba, I made it very clear, this will never touch the Black Knight universe. Those are completely separate. Because I needed to be able to write stuff that didn't go through somebody else having right of first refusal on it.
Yeah, it's like when you see like, when you see Spider-Man show up in like, in an issue of the Fantastic Four, that's one thing. But when you see like a Freddy versus Jason happen on like, on screen, there's a shitload behind the scenes going on there other than, wouldn't this be cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to touch on the planning aspect that John hit, like I've been fairly public that I work in a multiverse system. Like my book worlds are not connected except where explicitly noted. But there is an existing multiverse as shown by Villain's Code, and I've got plans for things that are going to happen. I've mentioned that there are small cameos or little things that are hidden throughout some of my books that are pretty much impossible to find right now because there's no context for them. But in a few more years and a few more books, there will be certain things that will shed light and it'll be like, oh, okay, that's neat. But yeah, it's planning. The only way to have those things that echo all the way back to things years prior is to put them in and to just know you're going to do it. And that is something that really only we can do as indies. Like, there is no traditional author out there who has the surety from their publisher, who's not J.K. Rowling or Stephen King or Neil Gaiman or some rich motherfucker, who has the surety from their publisher that they'll get to publish and write all that shit.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, hell, I own the company and I can't promise that to my authors. Yeah. Unless you really, really want to, I guess. And make me a lot of money.
That is, that's at the heart of every crossover.
Yeah.
How much money are we talking here?
Yeah, I mean, if Steve wants to crash Bit Plunkerton in the middle of a Harkerverse novel, fuck it. Yeah. Sell enough copies, we'll talk about it.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's why you can have an Alien versus Predator, which sucks, but still gets like 2 sequels.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, touching briefly back on Crisis, I'm pretty sure the reason we got that Ezra Miller crossover is because Justice League did so bad. They were like, there's nothing really to protect here IP-wise, so fuck it.
We've already shit all over the franchise. Here, have this guy.
Yeah, let's hand it to the most beloved portion and see if that does better. It can't do worse.
Yeah. See what it does for the old action figure sales.
Well, occasionally you see something like that possible, just because of sheer like l- love of that. But it is rare.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's. I think my favorite example of why crossovers aren't always good and don't always work is something that was owned entirely by the same author and entirely by the same rep. It was
Still right here, Steve.
the Stephen King verse. I used to love reading his books when they just casually reference other books,
Yeah.
like maybe some
Yeah.
cops would talk
Yeah.
about a child appearance disappearance in Derry, or they'd reference the same,
Yeah.
dark god or magical thing in multiple books. But when he actually tried to commit to that shit in the Dark Tower,
Oh.
it started really well, and I was really pleased that you had the priest from Salem's Lot kind of going through the King multiverse, but then it's just like, and then he met Stephen King, and I thought, oh, Steve, mate, come on, you shit the bed here.
I am 100% with you. When Stephen King was just everything's its own story, but hey, we're gonna throw those Easter eggs. That is the best thing in the world. But when he went nuts with it and decided, I'm just gonna mold all of this into essentially say every book I've ever written is essentially a Dark Tower book. That's kind of where I stepped back and I was just like, the fuck.
Not to mention, there was some Harry Potter shit at the end of that.
I will say that I'm with Steve on the meta part. Definitely fell off, but he started Gunslinger way back in for a long time. The Dark Tower really was part of all the shit he was doing.
The pieces I really liked the fact that Flag was in Dark Tower and The Stand and Eyes of the Dragon, because those pieces didn't feel like they tied into the Derryverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think one place where they definitely where you could just see the clunkiness of that was The Talisman was an awesome book. And then the sequel, Black House, it was just it's like they took this awesome thing and then tried to kind of shoehorn it into the Dark Tower verse, and it was like, this is just a mess. So you know what it is? I don't know. Maybe it was planned and just came off badly, but it didn't feel planned. It almost felt like, oh hey, let's just do this.
Sometimes hinting at a thing is more exciting for the reader than actually presenting the reality of that situation.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
I will say this much, and I completely agree. The Stephen King meta self-insert bit does not work at all. It is fucking... It's a hard part that definitely drags this shit down. But conceptually, I do understand what would drive an author to do that. And it's not just ego. It's one of the things I've I don't know, pondered a few times, is that the weakest part of the story is the human author himself or herself. Because the author is the junction point of fantasy and reality. We are the proof that this all didn't happen because it all came from us. And so when you can find a way to remove the reality portion from the author, to sever them from it, you can create something wholly more powerful. If you can fold the author into the tale in a way that suggests how it happened, prophecies from some insane nightmare god would be a reference to I think the Lovecraft move. There's a lot of things, and so it did not work at all, one bit. But for a man who's writing his magnum opus, what he considers his greatest work, and clearly wants to swing for the halls of literary legend, divorcing the author from reality is something that can be incredibly powerful.
They did something interesting years back, similar to that, I think it was Infinity Crusade with Marvel, where near I think in the final issue, the universe ends, and they basically show everybody, all the heroes bursting into flames, and then they have one panel where it's essentially showing a reader's hands holding that issue of the comic, looking at it, bursting into flames as well. And then the universe restarts, and it's and it's like, yeah, people couldn't tell if it was like real or not. Like, even somebody reading this book, you're not sure if what you just read like was just fiction or.
Yeah. Well, another good example of that, like you say, divorcing the author from the process to make the multiverse in particular seem a little bit more feasible. The 90s Spider-Man cartoon, when they did the kind of Spider-Verse turn on it, and it basically ended with comic book Spider-Man in our world shaking hands with Stan Lee, where in his world it's all just comic books. Yeah. And I thought, nice. You've sewn up that little loophole, haven't you? I thought it's kind of, it gave a nice little credence to the whole multiverse thing by very specifically referencing well, I know Stan Lee's not the author of all of Marvel Comics, but he is the associated figurehead.
Symbolic.
Yeah. The idea being that, like, anything you imagine might be real in another universe, just, and maybe those ideas are just like filtering through to you.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I guess really I do kind of, like you say, Drew, I kind of see the point and the advantages of doing that. But for some reason, the Dark Tower, it just did not fly at all. It just felt really fucking clunky.
Oh, no. I'm with, again, I cannot preface enough. Like, I'm defending the motivations, not the executions. Like,
yeah, I get it. When you put it like that, I can see why you would have. But
I wonder how much of the Dark Tower got derailed by him almost dying and then getting off drugs.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I remember you talked about that. I think it might have been in a foreword to one of the Dark Tower books.
Because I don't really remember, but I think that all kind of happened maybe between books 3 and 4, or...
No, it was after 4. So he was taking, like, long stretches of time between each one for the first few, and then he got hit by the car, I think, after book 4.
Okay.
And that's why 5, 6, and 7 all came out so much faster than the ones previous. He's like, oh, I might die. I got to finish this.
So what you're saying is somebody hit George R.R. Martin with a car.
Oh, I don't know. It's risky, John, but I don't know.
I'm not endorsing hitting authors with cars. Just don't
especially
do that.
Especially since we are authors.
Yeah.
It's like you're really pushing us down a slippery slope here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm pretty slow myself there, John. I'm not sure if being hit by another car is going to motivate me or just make me more wary of being a writer.
I am really fat and will fuck up your alignment. Do not hit me with a car.
Wait, another car?
Well, I got hit by a car as a kid. I think I was probably too young to recognize the motivational aspects of being hit by a car.
No, you understood the motivation behind someone wanting to run your ass over, but...
Oh, yeah. It was, you're in a car, you want to go fast, don't you? Somebody's kid gets in the way.
I'm just imagining, like, Tiny Steve with a broken beer bottle in the middle of the road with a car running down going, come on, fight me!
No, that was last night, Drew. We saw that video.
Just because I don't remember it doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Check your phone. You sent that video at... Somebody quick, fake a video and email it to Steve.
So, all right, we've talked a good bit about crossovers in our own works and perceptions. Any favorites that we want to touch on, like outside of what we've hit so far? Like I will open us up while everybody thinks around a little bit. For example, I'm gonna pull one straight out of childhood, man. The Jetsons Meet the Flintstones. Fucking classic. Just great. I don't want to watch it again. I'm sure it doesn't hold up, but in my memory, a fucking masterpiece of cinema.
So mine are comic book related, and they're both kind of parody. In Star Child by James A. Owen, he had basically this pub that was kind of like the restaurant at the end of the universe or a bar out of time. And he fucking put Neil Gaiman in it. Like, the character was Little Neil, and it was basically a kid Neil Gaiman with sunglasses and a black leather jacket and the Neil Gaiman hair. and he was just this little Gaiman, little Neil. I loved that. That was very fun because this was back when Sandman was the pinnacle of comic books. And then Cerberus by Dave Sim did several of those kind of guest spot crossovers. Hell, even Spawn did it a little back in the day. Cerberus crossed over into Spawn when Dave Sim wrote an issue of Spawn. So I liked those one-offs, especially when it was creator-owned properties like Cerberus and Spawn, and they could just two dudes have a beer and say, "Hey, you wanna? Yeah, all right, cool." Because especially with Cerberus being a black and white comic and Spawn being full color, and you would have the cover. I think was even the aardvark from Cerberus looking down and like, "What is this color?" So those are some of my favorites from back in the day.
One of my favorites, I'd say, and I'm not saying it's a good movie by any stretch, but it's a fun movie. And I mentioned it already. I thought I very much enjoy Freddy versus Jason. You know, they get both the characters pretty much right. You know, they have bits and pieces. They mesh the worlds relatively smoothly, and it actually, like, you know, considering how bad Friday the 13th and like Nightmare on Elm Street got, like, you know, like near the end of those series, it kind of reinvented the characters and made them kind of cool again for like one movie.
And you know what would have made that amazingly better? And this was rumored at the time.
Yes.
Ash versus Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, that was supposed
Chuck Bruce Campbell in that sucker.
Yeah, that was supposed to be like this. They were thinking about that as the sequel, and I was just like, I will throw money at this to, like, you know, to go see this.
Humanity has not done enough good to deserve such splendor.
In fact, they've kind of they're not doing any more Ash versus Evil Dead series, and maybe that's fine. Maybe it ended where it needed to end, but maybe just keep the Ash versus open and just randomly put him in other things then.
They had a mini series. I think it was Ash versus, or it was like Evil Dead versus Marvel Zombies.
Oh yeah, and he was great in that. I would say that's probably one of my favorite comic book crossovers, because Marvel Zombies was this huge kind of quite grueling and quite I don't know, it's kind of greasy the way they sort of just take these beloved heroes and killed them in really sort of humiliating ways. And then somebody just went, and then we'll put fucking Bruce Campbell in it. And I was like, yes.
You know,
that's
you drop
great.
Bruce Campbell in fucking anything, it gets better.
Yeah, there is no situation where the phrase "let's add Bruce Campbell" makes things worse.
In fact, that would be the next series, not Ash versus Evil Dead. Just, you know, Ash goes for a time drift. Then you get Ash versus Dracula, Ash versus Wolfman, just fucking everything. Ash versus the cast of Friends.
Ash versus that douchey guy on the Titanic. Ash versus Rose, you greedy bitch. There's plenty of room on the door.
Obligatory Ash versus
Throw a
Hitler.
curveball back to biblical times. Ash versus Jesus.
Oh, that'd be tough.
All right, my favorite non-Ash from Evil Dead related crossover is again in comic books. It's still with 2000 AD. There was a time when Judge Dredd was as popular as the mainstream comic book characters.
Fuck yeah.
And obviously they wanted to cash in on this, so they'd have him team up with people from other comic universes. But the only thing is, Judge Dredd is like, his whole thing is he's a fascist prick. You know, you put him alongside the superhero, and he just immediately tries to arrest him, or like you'll put him with Batman, and he'll arrest him for indecent exposure or whatever because he's dressed in a gimp suit. And it's just he doesn't partner well with anyone at all.
Suit, though.
I'm not saying it's not a good gimp suit. I'm just saying, you know, Judge Dredd, you know, he's been known to be unfair to people. He doesn't even partner well with people in his own universe. So whenever they try and kind of put him in a different universe, it's always amusing to me that they never compromise on the fact that he's this kind of unrelating law prick.
Didn't he do a crossover with Lobo?
I think so. He's done a surprising amount of crossovers.
I think that's the one that kind of worked because Lobo's this psychotic prick too. And he just fucking hates everybody, so it was no big deal for him to hate Judge Dredd.
But it's, as soon as you kind of put Judge Dredd into anything, you could put him alongside Superman, and Judge Dredd would ask to see his ID immediately.
But there's something fun about something like that. Like one of the big Marvel and DC crossovers from years back. There's a scene where where like the Joker meets up with the Punisher, and the Joker's like, "Oh, you're gonna take me to Arkham Asylum?" And Punisher's like, "Fuck no, I'm gonna shoot you in the face."
But Punisher's the same deal. You can't really cross him over for anyone because he's got to kill them. It's if you're playing the Punisher correctly, he doesn't make a very good a team up buddy. Same with Judge Dredd. And I like that aspect about it. I like the fact that they put them in these kind of more popular, well-known franchises and just did not compromise on the character at all. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah.
There was a really good 2-issue crossover that was Batman versus Grendel. Matt Wagner did a run where he wrote Batman, and then because Grendel was his creator-owned project, they gave him a 2-issue crossover, and that was really good because the guy that created one of the characters had been writing the other one, so he already knew what was up. I think I'm probably one of 10 people who remember that. Me, Matt Wagner, and 8 others.
Well, I'll go with something a little different. I guess this counts. I'm going to go with Who Framed Roger Rabbit and all the...
Yeah, that's an excellent example.
Yeah, really good example.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love it.
I've seen a thing.
But that was mind-blowing as a kid, seeing Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny on the same screen.
Right. And then Daffy and Donald with the dueling pianos.
Yeah.
Oh, do y'all know why they were structured like that?
No.
The dueling pianos and the parachuting scene. It's the only way they could get both companies to agree to have those major characters on screen is if they had the exact same amount of time as their counterpart. So
I know there's got to be so much fucking lawyer tennis going on behind that movie.
That's why Donald and Daffy are in their little thing and they both kind of win, kind of lose. That's why Bugs and Mickey are falling together in simultaneous. It's like, all right, everybody's big dogs get to play for the same amount of time.
Well, in the early days of of Marvel and DC, because all the guys who wrote and drew that stuff, they used to hang out together. So the lawyers wouldn't let them play nice, but there would be all these soft crossovers where Superman would go into a warehouse and do something, and then on the other side, in a Marvel comic, Captain America would go into the same warehouse on the other side or something. They would do all these little nods to each other that were kind of hey, we're buddies and stuff, but but fuck you legal guys. Because the lawyers really don't make anything better.
No, I mean, I keep on seeing these video games, and they're always knockoff video games where they're like, we're going to take every single horror character and have them fight each other. We're going to have Chucky versus the Tall Man and Pinhead versus Bruce Campbell. I mean, that's great, but it's never going to be officially done because there's just too many legal hurdles involved.
Isn't Kingdom Hearts kind of like that?
Yes. Kingdom Hearts is basically a Final Fantasy Disney fusion.
Yeah, it's a giant crossover. The whole thing is one big ass Disney Square Enix crossover engine.
Smash Brothers.
Oh
yeah, good one.
That's a great one.
Ryu from Street Fighter uppercutting a Pikachu through the fucking roof.
To hell with you, Electro Rat!
The Injustice mobile game too. It's got Mortal Kombat characters in Injustice.
Yeah. In fact, I was playing a game of Killer Instinct the other day, and bonus downloadable character, a Battletoad.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
They've done that with with whatchamacallit, the Soul Calibur series. There was one where you could where it's okay, whatever the main character here is versus Darth fucking Vader.
Yeah, or Link from Zelda on the Nintendo version, which was a bit odd. I didn't really, not ready to see him be hit in the face with an axe, but there you go.
Oh, I totally am. What's that game?
That was the, Jesus Christ, GameCube Soul Calibur, I think.
Can I get it for Wii? No. What do I have? Switch?
No, probably not. No, I shouldn't think so. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think my favourite one of that was Solid Snake in Smash Brothers. The intro they did to that of him like on the comm to his military boss. Okay, what's the mission? Then he takes his box off and it's just all these fucking plumbers chasing around mushroom people. It's like he looks fucking ridiculous just standing there in his cool military gear.
Oh, that's great.
I love that.
Characters out of genre is one of my favorite things that can happen in a crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have fun with that. Like, you can have like a character like Kratos show up in like a Smash Brothers, and it's just a cool nod that says, yes, we understand you like cool things. We like cool things too, and yes, it is ridiculous that he's now punching out like, Luigi.
Or Luigi's kicking the shit out.
Luigi beating the shit out of Kratos would be an amazing video.
The thing I learned yesterday is that in Rock Hill, which is a town just south of Charlotte, in one strip mall, there's a Italian restaurant named Luigi's. Literally in the next strip mall down the same street is one named Mario's. I know where the fuckers ended up. They retired to South Carolina, and now they run Italian restaurants and strip malls.
That rivalry never went away.
I'm now realizing how many times I've seen an Italian restaurant named Mario or Luigi's, and I'm thinking, oh my god, are we all just referencing that fucking video game? Or is it just happenstance that those are the most popular Italian restaurant names?
I don't know that I want a restaurant named after a man who works on toilets.
That's a good point.
Valid.
I got to name a restaurant after that guy who fixes shitters and jumps on pearls.
Yeah. I got bad news for you about Jimmy John's.
Where exactly did the mushrooms for this tagliatelle come from?
Yeah, don't ask.
Why do you ask? Well, my friend ate one and tripled in size.
And
You
if
do that
I
at
eat this one,
McDonald's.
will I live forever?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the lady over there had what I thought was a squash blossom, but she incinerated her date, so...
I think it's pretty obvious that everyone loves a fucking crossover.
When done right.
Yes.
When done right. Yeah.
Sometimes we love them more when they're done really, really badly. That's why things like At the Movies exist.
Well, that's kind of a done right.
That's done entertaining.
Yes. Yes. That's purposefully mocking.
Oh. Okay, what are some of the worst crossovers that spring to mind for y'all?
Well, I
don't have a great pull for that
I
one.
was gonna say I already mentioned Alien versus Predator. The comics did an excellent job, but it's like the movies just like it's like, okay, you have an easy formula here, and they just could not get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I was really disappointed because I'd read the first graphic novel of Alien versus Predator, and I read the novelization of it as well for some reason. Got it spot on. It was a really simple concept. It worked really well. Showcased the monsters in exactly as you'd want them showcased. But when it came to actually doing the movie, they dropped the ball incredibly hard. And I haven't really seen a satisfying Alien versus Predator at all.
I'll do one I'm disappointed I never got, because I'm still like, what the fuck, missed opportunity. If y'all remember the end of the aughts, the early 2010s, USA Network was on a hot streak by replicating sort of one concept over and over again. It started with Burn Notice, and then White Collar,
Suits.
Royal Pains. Person who is fucking amazing at their job has to perform their job in extraordinary circumstances. So Spy who has been washed out, Doctor but for fancy rich people away from a hospital, White Collar super con man working for the FBI. Psych, guy who is a super genius detective but pretends to be a psychic. And they owned all of these. A lot of them were shot in the same town. They were in production at the same time. We never fucking got what could have been the USA version of The Defenders, and I'm kind of pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Psych crossed over with one of them, but it took me forever to realize that the dude on Psych was also Charlie on West Wing.
He's also on Suits, which I still maintain is just Burton Guster on deep cover.
But Suits is the same thing. Dude who's not really a lawyer, but is a really good lawyer.
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely a part of that whole trend.
Yeah.
Suits is the last one to die. It actually just went down this year.
You know what I would have liked to have seen for a crossover? It had to be a movie. You can stretch this out too much. Always Sunny in Philadelphia versus The Good Place.
Wow.
It's just before anyone died.
What is your structure for this
No,
one?
It's like Always Sunny in Philadelphia meets The Good Place meets Hellraiser.
There
Well,
we
you
go.
think about it, The Good Place is all about exploring morality, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is about exploring why morality is bullshit. And if you ignore it hard enough, then it doesn't matter. I think that'd make a chaotic 70 minutes.
Yeah, that's just Eleanor's bar, and we just scrap the whole afterlife stuff. I'd love to watch that.
Oh, I'd definitely tune in for that one. I wouldn't be able to stay away.
Don't get me wrong, it would ruin both shows, but yeah, I think I'd take it as an elsewhere, as an elsewhen. Jesus Christ, what did Marvel used to call them?
Other
What
worlds.
ifs?
What ifs? Or
What
they're
ifs,
calling
yeah.
it again now. They're bringing it back
Yeah,
Oh, sweet.
yeah.
Awesome.
for
Looking
the
forward to that.
shows.
Maybe just people should get together for what ifs. That'll please the lawyers. Just, we're just going to take these concepts, mash them together, make a fuckload of money, and then we don't have to see each other again. Just take the old Marvel what if concept.
I think that's called a Hollywood wedding. Isn't that like every Ben Affleck marriage?
The important thing is that, somebody's getting rich, and my bad ideas are brought to life.
I don't know of any I really hated. I didn't like Avengers versus X-Men, but I also didn't care enough to hate it. So I guess it was that bad because I just didn't give a shit.
Oh. Any dream ones you'd like to see?
I'm one I might write someday, but I won't go into it.
That was ominous.
Harry Potter meets
warned.
Shingles.
Wait, we haven't
Bob's
done
been
that yet?
planning like the Avengers version of Shingles with every single book, sculpting it out, planning a spider's web, a tapestry.
You know what? I'll go ahead and it's more conceptual than any individual property, but and I think I've mentioned this before. It's like a crime-solving show with like the types of characters from all these different kind of ridiculous shows. Like you'd have one person that solves problems with math, and one that like a CSI, and then one with like I don't know psychic shit or whatever, and then yeah.
Like
You bring them all together, and they're all really bad at the job, and somehow the mystery gets solved in spite of them.
it's all a bunch of savants, except they're heavier on the idiot part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a fun one.
Yeah. Elementary meets numbers meets whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
And they all
kinda love
travel
it.
around in a van together.
And they all hate each other.
Yeah.
But there's like one person that's the glue that's holding the whole thing together. And
Yeah,
they're
the rich
not
guy that's
stupid.
paying them.
Yeah.
No, he's the stupidest because this was all his idea.
Every single
Charlie's
one of those
savants.
characters has like the normal person that is paired to the super genius / idiot. Just having them all be bonded to the same person inconveniently.
Oh, or you have all of the super idiots in their van with their Bosley running around, and then at the end of every episode, it's all of their normal people in a bar just drinking their sorrows away. Like, God damn it, Sherlock.
I thought you were gonna say their Bosley keeps getting killed and they keep just flocking around a stranger as the new Bosley.
Also works. I'm pretty sure this is how writers' rooms work. Except with more weed and money.
Probably, yes.
Did anybody have any more fantasy crossovers?
None of them safe for work.
I would like to see the various Michael Shore properties that have been loosely connected, like through the thing. I'd love for them to give him like a 2-hour special to just do a fucking full crossover and go nuts and have some fun. I feel like that would be entertaining.
How about a re-release in theaters of Endgame, except when they open the portals at the end, you know, Justice League comes through and they're like, thank God we're finally in a fucking good movie.
I'm trying to think of what Steve was, could be thinking of. I think like Debbie Does Gremlins.
I mean, to do it, I'd either need like really convincing CGI or a time machine. But yeah, it was basically Debbie Does Gremlins.
I kind of want to see. Let's go back to the old comedic horror monster meets comedy shtick, like Dracula versus Psych, or I don't know, Frankenstein versus Hulk Hogan. That kind of shit. That's just two bags of stupid shoved together and shaken up, and it comes out as this lump of complete ridiculousness.
You pretty much just described like the plot of Meg, which is essentially Jaws versus Jason Statham.
Maybe we mix a bit of Steve's porno in there, like Abbott and Costello have graphic sex with the Wolfman.
I think that's a book, because I'm pretty sure it's like number 2 on the horror comedy bestseller list.
Yeah, it's probably a Chuck Tingle novel. He got there way ahead of us.
If it involves fucking a werewolf, it has already been done. It's also clogging up the horror comedy charts for some reason.
There's a whole Abbott and Costello genre. It's like, oh, Jesus. The crossover we did not want.
But you totally fucking deserve.
Oh. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this week's side quest. We'll be back in another week with a regular episode of Authors and Dragons. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.